Hello and welcome to the first Digital Theory podcast. This is a show where three regular dudes talk about video games and assorted geekery. This is Micah, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Ryan and Mark. Ryan, I'm going to toss this over to you. I think you had the first item of news today. The PS5 is in the wild. People are taking a look at it.
Yeah, Mike, I just wanted to kind of look into it. And, I saw a couple of videos online where a couple of bloggers, some big companies like IGN getting their hands on the PS5. It looks, I just want to talk about, have you guys seen this thing? I mean, I was expecting it to be really, big based on what they're telling us, but I was watching a guy, pull this out of a box. The thing is massive. I mean, it looks like it's as big as him. So I'm just curious, what are you guys' thoughts on this? Mark, what do you think?
I'm not really one. Kind of like everything to be small, have more space. So I don't know how thrilled I am about that. Whereas at least the Series X looks a little bit more compact. But I guess with the PS5 you could lay it on its side, where with the Series X doesn't really look like that's their intended use for it.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the designs, and I think you're right. I think this Series X is kind of meant to be an upright console, the way they have the air outtake design to kind of exhaust heat out the top. But the PS5, yeah, it's way bigger than I thought it was going to be. I will say, though, just the look of the console, I think it looks really good. I like the color, I like the white on it. And I don't know if that's like a live light inside of it with like the blue accent around the inside. But to me, I mean, the design looks really good.
Yeah, what's interesting is the Xbox Series X. They advertise that you can actually turn it on its side too, and it kind of looks like a log to me. So I definitely think that one looks better. Looks better it's standing up. You know what I mean?
It's like a Yule log, man. Just in time for the holidays. Just put a little fake fireplace behind it.
Yeah, but the PS5, it's been made fun of. To look like a router. So, but yeah. I was really just shocked how large it actually is. That was the biggest surprise to me.
Yeah, similar. I think when I first saw the size, it was the official takedown video that Sony put out. The gentleman was taking it apart. Something else that's really cool is the way that the stand works. I don't know if you saw the video, but it actually screws on to the base for the vertical stand. And you have to unscrew it, and there's a place designed in the base of the actual stand where you store that screw, and you kind of just twist it closed. It just looks really neat. It looks very well engineered.
Yeah, it was unique that Sony actually gave us a look of tearing the whole thing apart so early. You know what I mean? I kind of expected people to do that once they got it, like tear into it, see what's inside this. But, the fact that, Microsoft's already kind of done that, but Sony typically waits a little while and, lets people do that on their own. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think I expected it earlier when Mark Cerny did his talk about it, but there was nothing shown at all. It was just more of a, esoteric thought about or talk about the thought process into designing the actual chip. But it's always interesting to hear the designers talk about it.
Yeah. Mark, have you seen anything, any Xboxes in the wild, anything that they're working on?
Not really that in depth. I know a couple of weeks ago, they launched a whole new app. For a while, they had their Xbox app, which was you could access all your friends' lists and stuff. They recently just revamped that to make it even more of all-in-one kind of connection deal in preparation for the Series X. And I know on the current gen with Xbox One now, when you go to something like the Microsoft Store, what's really nice, you can look at some of the games, pretty much all the games. Like for instance, I know the new Star Wars game Fallen Order. Down in the details, it actually will say, for Xbox One / Series X, which is kind of cool that they're kind of already telling you some of these games that we've seen released in the last year or two are for sure going to be on these new consoles, whether it's backwards compatible or if they're getting a new update to meet all the new specs. But that's something that I really kind of like, is having that app all in one kind of feature, kind of being able to check up on everything, which I don't know that Sony's done anything with the PlayStation app, but I know the last time I used it, it was kind of frustrating, kind of a headache. So
Right. Well, I know, later in this episode, we're going to try and get to some next gen topics and get in more details. But, I just thought it was kind of interesting in the headlines. We're starting to see these things actually out in the wild. People are getting their hands on them, getting to experience them. Something we would kind of maybe see at GameStop, if, the whole COVID wasn't going on. Sometimes they have the setups, but looks like they're sending them out to people now just kind of get their hands on it. So we can move on to some other news. I don't know if either of you guys play much PC strategy turn-based games, but the game Frostpunk, they're coming out with a board game, which is kind of interesting. We've seen that in the past, but I played the game. I liked it a lot. I don't know how it would be in a board game. It seems pretty in depth, so I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be like the kind of Oregon Trail-ish. What do you guys think about that?
Right.
You guys have your hands on that any?
I haven't seen the board game. I do play it on PC. I love that game. I'm super into the strategy games on PC, but the Frostpunk board game, I'm actually kind of have high hopes for it. A lot of these tabletop games have become just a bit more sophisticated over the years, and I'm looking forward to what they do with Frostpunk. I actually backed a game on Kickstarter based on another video game series. There's an Assassin's Creed board game coming out, and you actually play through Animus Memories, and each kind of mission that you draw, you have to complete certain objectives like killing a certain amount of enemies, finding items on the map. So I'm actually hoping for that to come out next September. I think is when the print is going to finally come out. So Frostpunk, I'm looking forward to. I think it's a really good idea to start taking some of these games and porting them over to the tabletop scene.
Yeah, like I said, I'm excited for this one too. I'm just kind of curious of how it's going to be, because some of these video games they've turned into like card games and stuff like that. I don't enjoy that as much as a physical board game where there's some strategy involved. So I hope they just do it right. Is my hopes.
Right, for sure.
yeah, I've never played Frostpunk or never been big into board games, but it's always exciting seeing stuff like that crossover and expanding the market and bringing new ideas in. So always high hopes for new stuff like that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've sunk quite a few hours in that game. It's a great game. Anybody else have any news? Anything else they've seen in the news?
Yeah, I got a couple things that kind of caught my eye. First thing, and I have to talk about it. I know this might not be a super popular statement, but No Man's Sky is getting a next gen update, which it kind of came out of nowhere that this game's been out for so long. But credit to the development team for not abandoning it after the first backlash against the game, and they've actually been adding great things to it the past couple of years. So bringing it over to next gen, faster loading times, better graphics. I think they're going to have more variety in the flora and fauna on each planet. So I'm super looking forward to that. Have you guys ever jumped into No Man's Sky at all, or?
Yeah, I got it when it went on Game Pass on Xbox. Me and some buddies of mine, we all downloaded it. And we played it for quite a while, and I only went in knowing that when it first came out, it tanked pretty hard due to the lack of delivery on all the promises they made. But by the time I was into it, I mean, I've had a blast with it. Just it really is. There's always something to do, whether it's building your base or flying around in space trying to mine the gold and silver and all that stuff, and trading it and building a reputation with all the different races and learning those languages and finding out the how you even ended up in the situation that your character's supposed to be in. Definitely one of those games, a pleasant surprise, I think. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it is on 6 months from now when the next generation's out, or whenever the update comes out, and seeing what they do with it and continue to do with it.
Yeah, I never really dabbled much in the No Man's Sky just because of the mixed reviews, but I'm open to trying anything. Maybe next gen's the way to go with No Man's Sky, and I can hop in then. I know we all have a lot going on, so got to pick and choose what we get into. But unfortunately, I haven't got into that one yet.
Yeah, I haven't. done much in that game at all. I haven't really accomplished anything. My favorite thing to do is just kind of fly around and scan planets and scan plants and animals. I just found it to be a real relaxing experience. Just put on like a podcast or something and listen to it while you fly around. Yeah, so next gen, looking forward to see what it looks like. I also had another bit of news, and I'm sure everyone's heard this at some point this week or last week, and that is the second delay of Cyberpunk 2077, which hurts my soul. I was so much looking forward to this game. CD Projekt Red is fantastic dev. They've made my favorite game of all time, Witcher 3. So this delay hurts, but good thing for me, since I teach, is that it will be coming out December 10th now, which was literally a week before holiday break. So I'll be able to play it over the holidays.
Yeah, this one hurts me pretty bad too. I was looking forward to this one quite a bit. Do you think they're going to delay it again?
Man, I hope not. And the reason, well, I hope not, and no. I've read a report that came out yesterday that said that CD Projekt Red's stock fell by 25% after they announced the second delay, which is not a inconsequential amount of money to lose.
No, and I actually heard reports that they were working, ungodly amounts of overtime to try and push this game out, and it still ended up having a delay, which is disappointing.
Yeah, I heard that as well. I think those are pretty much confirmed at this point. I think there was initial backlash against the actual boots on the ground devs in the dev room, and they actually didn't know about the delay until everyone else found out. So I think CD Projekt has been the darling of gamers for a while now, but I think people are starting to kind of look more closely at their development practices.
Be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think today, I think we're going to talk about our gaming history. So, like, what got us into games. I'm probably the longest tenured gamer here. So, would you like me to start and tell you a little bit about how I got into it and my history? Okay.
Cool. We're all, this is the first episode. Let's get everybody a little bit of history, just so they know who we are, what we
right. Yeah, who are these three dudes that I don't know? Anyway, so yeah, my first experience playing video games is really starts in 1990. I was three and a half. This is one of my earliest memories, and I remember we got the original NES console at the house. And we had I think it was a 45-inch TV in the living room. It was like a Zenith or a Magnavox. And younger people might not remember the days when like big TVs were literally big TVs. I mean, the TVs themselves had wheels on them. But anyway, we had this NES, and it would sit on top of the TV. And I remember the first game I ever played was the combo cartridge. It had Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and it came with the light gun. And I remember cheating at Duck Hunt constantly. I would literally just take the gun and walk up to the screen, put the barrel on the actual screen, and just follow the ducks around, like touching the screen. So you couldn't miss, But those are some of my earliest memories of playing the NES and Mario and Duck Hunt. But what really caused me to fall in love with video games, and the reason I still play them, is the American version of Dragon Quest was on NES, and it was called Dragon Warrior. And I was super young. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no understanding of the mechanics. But this was the game that really triggered my love for RPGs that have still kind of remained to this day. It was ungodly difficult. Probably had no business playing it that young, but I would just kind of wander around in the fields outside of the first town and fighting slimes and goblins. I can still remember the battle music. It's kind of etched into my memory. But so that was like the first home console experience. Did you guys ever have the NES or play any NES games growing up?
What's funny is I didn't have it. But over the years, I've known people who have had it and been able to play a little bit of it. So it's kind of funny to go back. I know exactly what you're talking about with these games. And they're great now. Classics. But no, I did not grow up on it. I don't know about you, Mark, if you played any.
Yeah, I didn't grow up with an NES in my house, but when I was in probably kindergarten or first or second grade, I had a friend, and first time I went over to his house, he had the original NES, and I didn't know what it was, but we played one of the Super Mario Brothers games, and that's all I ever wanted to do when we went over to his house. And of course, he had it, so he didn't really care much about it. But for whatever reason, I was blown away. I just loved, stomping Goombas and watching, killing the turtles and watching their shells, kill everything in front of me and everything. So I definitely had a blast playing it, but really ever since then I haven't played much of that particular console. But
Right. Yeah, I had a kind of similar experience. We had a next door neighbor who also had one, and I was super jealous of her because she had a game that I didn't, and I desperately wanted, but I could never find. And it was the gold cartridge Kirby game. That game was fantastic. Just imagine Mario, except for you could eat people. It was super fun. So she had that one, and she also had the Legend of Zelda, which was, huge on me as a kid seeing that game. You could kind of wander around the map, and you could find hidden doors and hidden items by chopping bushes with your sword, and you get like boomerangs and maps and stuff. That game blew me away as a kid. Just loved it. And then I think I was born at the right time too, that they actually started using more games in school as well. I remember, I guess I was in like second or third grade, and we had an Apple III in our classroom. And now, if you don't know what an Apple III is, it's like, it looks like a monitor. You remember that monitor from Jurassic Park? It's like a little black and white security camera monitor.
Oh yeah, I remember.
It's like handheld. You know what I mean? Well, it looks like that, and it's on top of this big, like beige box. It looks like a inkjet printer, and it would take these massive floppy disks. But the games weren't on floppy disks. The games were on these ROM cartridges they kind of looked like a later Sega Genesis cartridge. But anyway, so we would play the Oregon Trail in class in the back, and just have a ton of fun. And then later I got that game for a home PC. I think I had a Tandy 2000. It was a Windows 3.2 or 3.1. I think it was 3.1. But yeah, it was just totally changed the way I spent my time. Before that, I just did whatever, young 3 to 6 year old kids do. But after I got introduced to these, that's literally all I did.
Yep. That's neat. Yeah, I mean, I started out myself on Nintendo 64. So going back, playing Super Mario and that, and then, seeing where it came from on what you started on, which that's really neat.
Yeah, dude, the 64 is seminal. I mean, GoldenEye, come on.
Yeah,
GoldenEye.
That's what I grew up on, was GoldenEye, Super Mario 64, really Pokemon games. I mean, those were...
Oh,
that was my generation. You had the Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap.
Dude, I was going to ask you if you had the camera game. Was that the Pokemon Snap would...
Yep, that was it.
Oh, man.
What was really cool about those games, like Pokemon Stadium, you could actually take your Game Boy game, and they had like a cartridge that went into the controller, and you could bring your Pokemon over from that game into the 64. Which that was like
I remember that.
That was like breaking edge technology then.
Dude, I remember that. And dude, the 64 had the greatest peripherals. They had the Rumble Pack.
Yep.
And they had that. You remember the expansion pack? It was like it had a red top on it, but it plugged into that extra port in the front of your console, the front center of your console.
You know what's interesting about that is I had Zelda for the 64, and then the second Zelda came out, and you had to have that expansion pack to play it.
That's wild.
You remember that. But yeah, after Ocarina of Time, the second one, you had to have that. So yeah, I remember those. It was great times. But then I moved into, PS2, PS3, so that was kind of what I grew up with, that generation. So just a little bit behind you, not much, but
Right.
slightly. But PS3, PS2, I was big in Rock Band. Um,
Oh yeah, dude, I remember that.
I was one of those guys that had every instrument, and I probably downloaded almost every song. I can't
And an
imagine how
extra
much.
guitar. You gotta
Yeah,
have the extra guitar.
I can't imagine how much money I spent on that. It's probably pretty embarrassing now, but I still have them in a storage room. You guys want to come over one day?
Oh, for sure, dude. Break
Yeah,
that
dude.
out.
That was one part I always missed out on. Like, I never had Guitar Hero, or Rock Band. And I'm a massive Beatles fan, so when the one for them came out on the 360, I begged my parents and never got any of it. So
Well,
Oh man,
I have it.
yeah, dude.
So that was my big thing. I also played a lot of RPG games, and really I played a lot more sports games than anything. So like Madden, FIFA, any of those, I bought about every year. I was, that was back when they were making strives every year for each game.
Yeah, they're actually changing things.
Yeah, now you don't pay $60 for a roster update, but
Exactly. Imagine that.
so it hurts my feelings a little bit that I'm gonna have to spend that kind of money just to get one on next gen. But I'll do it for the first round and see how it goes.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious to see myself.
Yeah. So, Mark, what about you? What kind of games you grow up with? What systems?
Well, the first memory I have of gaming, I was probably, gosh, I don't even know how old. My tendency is to say 3 or 4, but I was probably more like 5 or 6. And I walked into my parents' bedroom and they had the GameCube set up, and I think my sister was playing the I guess it was the first Animal Crossing that Nintendo then ported it over to America, and immediately was mesmerized. I think I watched her play it most of the day. And then, of course, being the younger sibling, didn't really get much of a turn.
Bro, the
but-
GameCube still hits. That is such a great console.
I spent a lot of time. I played a lot of Animal Crossing. My favorite thing to do in that game, for whatever reason, was I would make my character. I was fascinated by the idea that whatever, like, a cat asks you all these questions at the beginning of the game, and based on your answers, that determines what your character looks like. So I'd make a new character and try and come up with like all these different kind of combinations to see what my character would look like. I might play like a couple in-game days and then just do it all over again. Then after that, my dad had a training course for his job at the time, and he came back with the first Xbox, and he had the first Ghost Recon game. And it was rated M, so I'd watch him play that a lot, and I always begged him to play. Of course, he wouldn't let me. But the game I think really first hooked me and really got me onto the path of playing all these years was my dad's coworkers were talking about World of Warcraft. And I remember there was like a couple months he'd be like, yeah, all my coworkers playing this game, World of Warcraft. I'm thinking about giving it a try. And when he finally did, he set both of us up an account, and that was probably in 2007. And been playing ever since. And I think that just the sheer scope of that game and seeing what all you really could do is really what got me really hooked into gaming. So I went from I've had the 360 and all that stuff, but I think World of Warcraft is really where it all started, at least as a hobby and something I've continued to do for so long.
Right. Yeah, and I think we're similar in that World of Warcraft is this giant world that's just there for you to explore, and that's kind of the games I like. Right, I like to get lost in a new place.
Oh yeah.
For me, I mean, like on the PC, I remember I got a demo disc through PC Gamer one year, and it came with the Morrowind demo on it, Elder Scrolls Morrowind. And that was just mind blowing. The fact that you could go anywhere, like people that you would talk to would just give you a quest, and there wouldn't necessarily be an indication that they had one to give you. It was more like organically talking to people. So
Oh
yeah, huge worlds to explore. That's kind of my thing.
yeah. RPGs. That's probably the one category I play the most. And I've just always loved the ideas. Like, is it really the game is what you make it? That's always been a big thing for me. Like you said, exploring the huge worlds, making these choices, kind of watching the game shape around what choices you've made earlier. Or yeah, just I love that idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love the RPG thrill. I just never got into World of Warcraft. Wow, I don't know why. I've looked into it, but just never really got into that one. Do you guys still play it now to this day? I know, Mark, you said you got it set up a long time ago.
Yeah, so I've played since the first expansion came out, and I still play now. In fact, I actually was just playing the other day. But nowadays it's not so much I keep a subscription going for just on and on and on. I'll usually take a couple months off, but I always come back uh, at some point.
That's awesome. I think one of the reasons I didn't get into it was I missed it. I kind of missed that launch. The big MMO when I was at the stage where I was playing a ton of PC games was EverQuest at the time, the first one, and this was before any of the expansions came out. And I thought that was totally revolutionary. But if you go back and play it now, I mean it sucks. It sucks really bad. But it for the time it was just like, wow, this is amazing.
Oh yeah, I just checked the other day. WoW has this thing where if you type in the chat like /played, it'll tell you the total time you've played one character. And on my main character, who I've had since I first started playing the game, I've got like 36 days of time, which maybe to some people is like not much, but yeah, 36 days worth of time is on one character for me.
Right.
So it's probably I don't know that I don't know that there'll ever be another game that I've played as much or as often as I've played WoW.
So you think that's the most played game that you've gotten into?
Yeah, I think for sure it has to be. I just played it for like 13 years now, and just so many different characters, so many different classes and races I've played. I think it's definitely up there. If it's not number one, it's definitely one or two.
Right. Yeah, I think for me, the one that I spent the most time is probably over the series of Grand Theft Auto. I know it's cliche, but I mean, oh my gosh, that game's been across how many consoles now? And now
absolutely
PC, but I never had it on PC, but you better believe I had it on every single console that it was out. I've completed those games, and the ungodly amount of online play I've had on that game. It doesn't get old, although it is time for a new one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was one of those that was incredibly disappointed when Rockstar was making their big announcement this summer. They're like, "Hey, GTA 5 next gen." No one asked for that. No one wanted that. They just wanted to print some more money.
Yep.
Unfortunately, but yeah, GTA 5 is a lot. I honestly don't know what game I put the most time in. It's probably a split between playing the Witcher trilogy over and over again. I played the first, second, and third game each 3 times all the way through. And I'm getting ready to start The Witcher 3 next gen. They're putting out a free update for next gen consoles too. And probably the Mass Effect games, I've played that trilogy multiple times as well. Yeah, I don't know. Those are the ones I can just tell you all about because I've played them so many times.
I always think about buying Mass Effect, and I never do. But I know growing up, I guess I was in middle school or early high school when the second one was big. But all my friends were obsessed with Commander Shepard
Yeah.
But I've definitely wanted to go back and play them. I just never have.
You absolutely should. The second is the absolute best in the trilogy, in my opinion. The first is objectively probably not a great game, but the story and the world building is excellent. And I really like the third game. I know that the ending was pretty divisive, but it was. I love that series so much. I could kind of overlook the mistakes that were made in the writing, but yeah, I highly recommend that trilogy. It's fantastic.
Now, Mark, I know you said your dad got an original Xbox with Ghost Recon, but did you ever play the Halo games?
I never played those until Halo 3. Dad wasn't. I mean, he was the one with the Xbox and Ghost Recon, but I think probably after the first few months of having it, I was the one that used it the most. And being so young, they didn't really let me play, any of those games. But by the time the third one came out, my buddies had that one, so I got it. Played a ton of Halo Reach when that came out. I've got the Master Chief Collection now. So I eventually got to it, but I missed it for the first 2 games.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can remember, that was the age I was at where we were doing LAN parties back then. You didn't have the internet as widely available. We'd dragging Xboxes to each other's house and linking up and playing. That was great for like the first couple Halos.
Dude, I think we literally set up a LAN party in a camper.
We probably did. I mean,
I'm pretty sure we did. I think there were like 4 of us playing in a camper.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say
with a separate TV.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was something that you were. I remember you playing it, but I didn't know how into it you were, or how many hours you sunk into it.
I wasn't super into it. I actually never had the original Xbox. I went PS1, PS2, PS3, and then I got my first Xbox was a 360. I was Sony all the way because of Final Fantasy. Literally, right. that one game series had me, and now Yakuza has me as well. But yeah, I wasn't super into it. I was never super into shooters anyway. I prefer third person games. I'm not as quick as I need to be to enjoy them. But
right, yeah, I really enjoyed those up until about Halo 3. Halo 3 was my favorite, and I kind of slowly drifted away from that point. That, and I was also more of a Sony guy for the same reasons. I haven't gotten to the Yakuza, but I enjoyed the Final Fantasy games. Those were great.
Yeah. Have you guys played the remake?
Not yet.
I have not played the remake yet.
God. Oh, so that's probably my second favorite game of all time is the original Final Fantasy VII. The remake, if you have any nostalgic memories for Final Fantasy VII, you have to play it. It's fantastic.
See, I never played the Final Fantasy games, and then I don't really know why, other than I probably just wasn't aware of them when I was younger. But as I got older and heard more about them, first time I remember really seeing Final Fantasy was a guy down the street that I was really close with growing up had gotten Final Fantasy 13 when it came out for the 360.
Okay.
And I know that one is not considered one of the greats. I was kind of a divisive game, but I was blown away by it. I just sat there and watched him play it. I think probably a couple hours. But I actually just got a PS1 a couple years ago for Christmas, and I got all the Final Fantasies that were on the PS1. So I'm working through through number 7 right now, and then I plan to try out the remake.
Nice. Yeah, I never knew anything about Final Fantasy until I saw a PS1 demo unit in a Blockbuster video, and it had Final Fantasy VII demo running on it. It was the train mission, the bombing mission at the beginning of the game, just totally sucked me in. And so 7, 8, and 9, the PS1 era games they're probably the best in the entire franchise.
I've definitely enjoyed what I played so far. I know I haven't played it in probably about a month now, but I'm stuck on the first time you go to was it Shenron?
Yeah, the Shinra Tower.
Yeah, and you meet the president and all that stuff. The boss fight right after that, I'm stuck on it. So I haven't picked it up in a minute, but I've definitely really liked what I've played.
Yeah, it's one of those games that doesn't it just once you play through it, the characters you'll never forget. Like the characters are so unique, they're so well done. They just kind of stick with you.
Yeah, I think what's amazing is for a PS1 game, how deep the stories are. I mean,
Oh
really,
yeah, man.
I mean, if you think about it, the technology they had and how they pulled that off, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, none of them were impressive to look at, but the way they just pulled you into that world was, hasn't been done much since.
Yeah, and I think for next gen, that's exciting because you can do that narrative and then pull the graphics with it.
Right.
Very, very immersive,
Right. That's one of the reasons why the remake. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say this. It literally made me emotional because how good it looked, and just remembering me playing through it in middle school, late elementary school. Yeah, it was a lot of good memories. Fantastic game. But is there no Sega love in the chat though? I mean, none of us have mentioned a Sega console.
I had a buddy who had a Sega Genesis.
I had a Genesis as well.
I thought it was the coolest thing ever, but I never, I didn't have the money then.
Right. Well,
I guess I still don't have the money, but
yeah, no.
It was so cool.
A bunch of money on dirt.
Yeah, I mean, it was so cool, and we just didn't, whenever I go to his house, we play a little bit, but never got deep into it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have the greatest games.
Did you have one?
I did. I owned a Genesis for a while. One of my biggest mistakes. I bought the Genesis. I should have bought the Sega Saturn. The Genesis was old at the time that I got it, but yeah, I had two games for it. I had Sonic, and I had the Jurassic Park game. And I don't know if you guys ever played the Star Wars games on the Super Nintendo, like Super Star Wars and Super Return of the Jedi, where they're these like licensed games from movies that were just platformers. That's basically what Jurassic Park was for the Sega. But I remember the coolest thing about that game to a middle school boy was the fact that you could play as a velociraptor. That was the best thing ever. And the end fight as the raptor was against the T-Rex in the middle of the museum. And it was just magical for a young boy at the time, obsessed with dinosaurs.
Sorry about that audio glitch there, but I think we were moving on to talking about. I was going to tell you a story. My aunt a long time ago, she had passed away, and she knew I was big into gaming, and she was really into it as well. And so when she passed away, she left me a big box of this Atari stuff. It has, I think there's 3 models of the Atari in there. But I mean, it's got stuff from the original with, the joystick and the red button. It's got some paddle games in there. And then there's a whole box of games itself. So maybe we can break that out one day and play those. Go really old school on you, Micah.
Absolutely. That's too legit. I mean, that's just cool to have. That's, just gaming history. That was the thing that brought gaming home out of the arcade into the living room. So, yeah, it's pretty neat to have.
Yeah, and what's really neat about it, some of them I actually have, I think 2 of them have the original box. So, I mean, can you imagine keeping the boxes for something that old? I mean, I can't even keep the box for my Nintendo or, heck, even the PS3. But
right.
Let alone keep the original box for Atari. So,
yeah, I mean, especially with collectors now. If I'd have known now if I'd have known then what I know now, yeah, I would have saved everything.
Yeah. Do you guys save any of your boxes or no? Just junk?
I usually save it for like a couple weeks just to make sure the system doesn't break. But if there's nothing wrong with the system, then I toss it.
I've got all my boxes, starting with the original, the first model of the Xbox One that came out. I decided I was going to start keeping the boxes just in case one day.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the current gen is that really going to be valuable? But we thought that before, so who knows?
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, nothing's valuable immediately. It's 20 years down the road. Then it becomes old school. And then you feel really old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the collector boxes, I don't really go for those. I think nowadays there's a lot of games coming out in the steel box sets and things. But Typically don't go for those. The only one I ever went for was a steel box for the Yakuza game, Yakuza 6 Song of Life, because that was the last game with Cosmic Kiryu, and totally worth it. If I'm not 100% into the franchise, I'm not buying any collectible boxes.
Right. Yep, I understand that.
Yep.
So we've spent a lot of time on console games, and I know we all hit on it kind of at the beginning, but where did you guys get started in PC gaming? I know some of us still play PC games.
I think for me, the first real PC games I got into was The Sims. I know you were into that, Micah, right, for a little while?
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, the original Sims.
the original one, and it's the best. It still is
Yeah,
the best. I can't really get
I
into the
agree.
newer ones. I've tried them. A couple years ago, I think they had a big old sale on it, so I bought one of them and tried it out. I can't get into it, but I guarantee if I went back and played the old school ones, I would still enjoy them. You
Absolutely.
know,
Yeah, I don't get into the new ones. I work too many hours during the week to want to simulate a regular life when I'm playing games too. You know what I mean? So yeah, the old one though is a classic.
yeah. So that was probably where I started, but I'm more into like strategy games now, turn-based games. I love Civ 6,
Uh huh.
all the Civilization games really, but pretty much any strategy game. If it's a city builder, anything like that, I'm into now.
Oh man, I poured hours into Caesar 3 and Caesar 2 back
Oh
in the
my
day.
gosh, man. CJ3 was the first PC game I played.
That's a good one. That is a great one to start on.
Dude, I loved that game.
Those games will
I
get you
still have it,
hooked.
dude. I
Yeah,
have the disc.
yeah, same. I found the CZ3 disc the other day, actually, in my parents' house.
Those are the type
Yeah,
of games you can just sit for hours. I mean, just you don't even realize it.
exactly. Did you
Yep.
guys ever play any of the other city builders uh, by them? I think it was Sierra Games, right? So it was Pharaoh and Rise of the Middle Kingdom, and it was a city builder set in ancient China, and they all had kind of a gimmick. So like Caesar 3 was Rome, and the gimmick was like the aqueducts and the well, right? Like the big reservoir and the aqueducts. In Rise of the Middle Kingdom, the gimmick was feng shui. So like you had to place your buildings near their natural like components. So if you're building a lumber mill, obviously build it near forest. But if you built it near rock, you'd have bad feng shui, and it'd bring the happiness down in your city. But that's a super cool game. If you ever get the itching to play an old school city builder.
That's probably one of my favorite is city builders. Have you played any of the newer ones? Like I know like one Banished came out. I know Mark's played a little bit of that. It was neat, interesting, but I felt like it needed more depth on Banished. I don't know if you played that one.
Yeah, I have. And the most recent city builder that I played was, I want to say it was one of the Anno games, uh, but one of the futuristic ones, like Anno, is it 2044? Or I don't even remember the name of it now.
Yeah, I think it was something along those lines. I debated downloading that one. I didn't know the
Yeah, it's pretty good, but honestly, none of the new ones hold a candle to the old ones, man. Maybe that's just nostalgia talking, but
Now, did you play like
yeah,
Anno? I think it's 1800. I think that was the best reviewed one.
I think that's the newest one, right? Um, the one that just came out. I haven't played it yet. I need to. I don't honestly. I need to update my PC though, so I can actually run these games.
Right.
Um, Mountain Blade 2 finally came out, Bannerlord, and it looks great, but I can't run that right now. So as soon as I pay off my real life bills, then I can update my computer. So
Did you guys ever play any of the like Crusader Kings games or Europa
oh,
Universalis?
absolutely, I've sunk too many hours into Crusader Kings 2. I haven't picked up
Same.
the third one yet.
I really want the third one, but yeah, I haven't got it yet. But dude, I spent so much time on Crusader Kings 2.
Yeah, I can't wait to brand my brother as a heretic and have him blinded and executed.
Oh, absolutely.
That's par for the course.
You know what? Just another day in Crusader Kings.
Absolutely. Yeah, that the strategy games are kind of what drove me back to the PC. Have you guys ever played the Hearts of Iron series? It's like a World War II simulator.
Haven't played that one.
I want to. I think I might have one of them, but I don't think I've
It's
played maybe 30 minutes of it.
it's super good. It's made by the same people who make Crusader Kings.
Yeah, I definitely pretty much everything that they've put out, I've at least been interested in. Stellaris, I really want to try that one out.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I've heard Stellaris has got great reviews. So
Mm-hmm.
I think
It's good. Ryan, did you ever check out that game I told you about? Oh gosh, I can't remember the
is
name
it
of it now,
Endless
but it was
Space?
Endless Space. Yeah,
Yeah, I played around on that a little bit. That was pretty good. I like that one a lot.
yeah. It's just a different style, um, of strategy, a little different flavor of the 4X.
Yeah, I think the big change between console and PC for me on strategy games is the use of the mouse. I mean, that just makes it so much more in depth for me where I can,
Oh,
Absolutely.
there's something about a console and the joystick is just not as smooth as being able to navigate with the mouse and keyboard.
for sure, for sure. There's just certain games that you have to have
Yeah,
a mouse and keyboard to actually play.
you try and do like
Yeah.
a city builder or something like that on a console, it's just not. To me, it's not even
Yeah,
functional. I won't even play it.
like
Too clunky.
have you tried the City Skylines on the console?
I haven't. I saw it
Man,
was free, and I still didn't even pick it up because I know how much I hate that.
it's rough. It is rough.
Yeah, I imagine it would take twice the time to build a city, and then even then, that would make me mad.
Yep.
It does. It's maddening. It absolutely is. Absolutely is. And then don't even. I can't even get started right now because we're running out of time. I can't talk about old school like isometric RPGs on the computer. The Baldur's Gate series, the point and click adventures from like the Sierra games, so like King's Quest and Full Throttle, Day of the Tentacle. Um, yeah, those just can't play those games on console.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. Since we're running out of time, let's just kind of jump into what's going to be next week. We'll try and hop back into this on a weekly basis for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's good just to chat. You know, see what's coming up. But next week is actually next gen release week, so I think we'll have a lot to talk on there. I know myself, I have a PS5 pre-ordered and a couple accessories. I'm still debating on which games to get, but I've got a pre-order for that. Mark, I know we've talked. You've got a Series X pre-ordered, so
hmm
we can maybe get our hands on that before the podcast. Maybe not, but we'll definitely talk about it. And Micah, what about you?
Please do. Yeah. I'm gonna have to live vicariously through you. I didn't pre-order either, hoping to get my hand on a new console sooner rather than later. But in honor of you guys going next gen, which I'm super jealous of, I think I'm gonna go old school, and I might bust out the Game Gear and bust out the old Surf Ninjas game again. If you haven't seen that film, you have to go check that film out. But yeah, so I'm gonna go old school and play some of my old games while I jealously wait for you guys to talk about how much fun you're having on your next gen consoles.
All right. Well, appreciate everyone listening. Thanks, Micah. Thanks, Mark, for joining the podcast today. Like I said, we'll do this weekly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
Great.
I'm excited.
You guys have a good day.
Yep. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.